Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Principals Talk Show. Today, we have a lot of principals on the show joining us. Yes, we have a great panel today. And the topic of discussion for today's episode is, can mark sheet be considered as the prestige sheet? Well, we'll talk more about the topic and we'll have a discussion. But before we start the show and before we start the discussion, I actually would like to begin the show with the principal's introduction. So, at first, we have Ms. Jyoti Mehra, Principal, Gaur International School, Gaur Yamuna City, Uttar Pradesh. Then we have Ms. Sunita Rai, Principal, PDEA, Eon, Gayankur English School, Kharadi, Pune. Then we have Ms. Varsha Agrawal, Roadwall, Secondary School Principal, Ascent International School, Mumbai. Then we have Ms. Sheetal Singh, Academic Head, CP Goenka International School, Mumbai. Then we have Mrs. Vishakha Gupta, Principal, Beacon High School, Pune. And last but not the least, we also have Ms. Anahita Landers, Principal, Avalon Heights International School, Navi, Mumbai. And we also have our founder and CEO, Mr. Gagan Rana, on the show. So a very warm welcome to all the principals and also to you, sir. Very warm welcome to you, and let the show begin now. And before I actually, jump on to the topic of discussion, which is, can mark sheet be considered as a prestige sheet? So before we move on to that, I actually would like to know from the principals. I mean, what did they score, when they were in school? So when you were in, so all the principals, I'll be asking one by one. So all the principals to you, before, I ask you about this topic of discussion today, can you please let me know your scores of 10th standard and 12th standard? So we'll begin with Principal Jyoti.
Hi, thank you so much for the invite, and it's a wonderful platform. Of course, a wonderful topic. I so am about it, ready to go for it because the topic is really, really interesting. And if you ask about my marks, 10 standard, yeah, so it was 55% ICSE board and 61% ISC board way back 1981 and 1983. So that is my score.
Amazing. I think, back in the day, this percentage was considered, I think sufficient. And I think in comparison to today's time, it was considered way more than what we get today. So now, Principal Sunita, what did you score?
Very good evening, one and all the dignitary members. Rajni, very sensitive question, to be very frank, and most of my staff as well as the children are also, seeing this. But in 10th standard, I scored 67%. That was in 1998. And in 12th standard, I scored around 65%. So that was my percentage. And my parents were very happy, to be very frank. And at that particular time, I was also on the 7-7 because first division mein pass ho gaye the. Everybody was very happy.
Yeah,
it was a great deal. Yeah.
I want to make a point. So, if you are not comfortable to disclose the marks, that's absolutely fine, not a problem. So it's up to the individual principal, right? They can give a pass, and that's fine. But on the back of the days, even passing, my God, is considered amazing, isn't it? I remember my father and other people that time, when they just passed, they say, oh wow, we can go to army, we can do this. But scoring 50 or 40, 60%, my God, that's scoring 90% in current days, I would say.
Absolutely, that is so true. And Principal Varsha, if you can please reveal your scores.
Rajni, thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me on this panel. A very good evening to all of you. I think I so agree with Sunita. I was very close to her mark, so I don't need to reveal mine, just maybe one plus or minus. But I remember how happy my parents were that it was a 60 plus. And, we really, really cherish this moment, which is so sad that does not happen today because, it's completely a different ball game, and anything above 90 also I see students and parents so concerned about, what the future is going to be like. So I think it would be nice to get back those days and, talk not about marks, but learning.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for your viewpoints. And then I would like to move to Principal Sheetal. So Principal Sheetal, if you can reveal your scores.
Good evening to everybody. And Rajni, I think I'm really glad that you've asked this question because I haven't really addressed this, the mark bit, especially in my 12th score, because it wasn't really good. And I just felt back then it was not really looked down. I mean, it was not really something that my parents were proud about. So, I never sort of disclosed, but in my 10th grade, actually, I got 88%. And in my 12th, I don't know, there was a bit of turmoil, that was happening inside me as far as my career choice was concerned, and as far as what I wanted to do in life was concerned. And my academics took a complete backseat, and I just managed to score about 49%. So that was my score. And of course, when I scored 88%, everybody was jubilant at home. There was good celebration, and oh wow, this girl is intelligent. And vis-a-vis my 12th score, because obviously, I had raised my bar high, and there were expectations out of me to select certain career streams, and that sort of changed the environment at home as well. But I'm glad that you asked this question, and I think I have gathered up that courage to address it as well and to tell my score out loud.
Okay, so and now after Principal Sheetal, we are still finding a bit of hesitation in the principals, revealing their scores. But now I would like to move to Principal Vishakha. Principal Vishakha, what were your scores?
Yeah, I would say that I would very close to what Sunita ji had scored, because again, the same thing is that ICSE were scores that were very difficult to achieve. There were long answers to write, sheets and sheets to fill up. So yes, we were very happy that we were first divisioners and we were close to distinctions, touching distinctions, and that was it.
Okay. And our Principal Anahita?
Yeah, hi, namaste, and good evening, everyone. I honestly do not remember my 12th scores, but I do remember my 10th scores because they were 64, and it really did not make a difference to my parents. I just believe that I was so happy that I got 64 because at that time it was distinction and I was overjoyed on that. And my parents, it made no difference at all because they said, oh, at last you passed. So I think today's topic that you've chosen is extremely relevant and very, very important in today's times. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to all the principals for revealing their scores and letting the audience know the importance of marks back in the day. But still, having said that, I also would like to say that when I asked this question, a lot of principals were having a bit of hesitation. I won't say hesitation, but there was a slight, that we don't want to reveal our marks. So there was this thing. So, and I think in today's time, still we have this hesitation, revealing our scores and revealing our marks. So even we can say in today's time that marks, it doesn't matter the scores you get. The scores really doesn't matter. Your skills matter. But then we still have this hesitation. So I'll begin with Principal Sunita. So Principal Sunita, why do you think we still have this hesitation? We always want things to change. We always want the parents to change their thinking. About the fact that that the child should be skillful, not marks oriented. But then we still have this hesitation. Why do you think it happens?
The question seems to be very straight, but the answer is very bitter and a very blunt answer, to be very frank. Although we seems to be very much modernized, very much updated and moving towards the influential global platform, but when we talk about the thinking of the Indian society, then still it is orthodox, very typical and traditional way in which the mark sheets is like a trophy for the people. And why so? Because again, I'm saying the society, although has transacted from a developing to a developed stage, okay, but when we are talking about our thinking process, when we talk about how we take these situations, then again we have that stigma wala part, what will the people say, and No, we are not ready for that change. So the people need to not see getting oneself, in a modernized dress up doesn't make one modern. And when we talk about, thinking out of the box way or modern thought process, when we talk about, so it's not about, what we can say, replicating any culture or inculcating some other traditions into ourselves. It's the thought process. So that is the thing which is, again, in India, definitely it is going to take time for us to be, cut short if we are taking NEP 2020, if we say. So as a principal, if I talk about myself, I also took some time to gulp it up, and to get engrossed into it and to understand and then to accept it and then to work accordingly. And if I'm talking about parents, and if I'll say, no, now we need to inculcate art integration and this and that, to be very frank, I am on a live platform and I'm not hesitant to say, on everyday basis, I am getting around 50 to 60 parents who are coming to the school and they are saying, nahi madam, wo blackboard par aap padhaiye please, aapne ye kya kar diya hai, ye dance kyun hai, ye music kyun hai, this kyun hai, that kyun hai. So as I am telling, so getting out of this traditional approach, until and unless this mindset is not going to change, India is always going to be a struggling phase when we are talking about progress. So that is the basic core thing. They are not ready to accept the change. They want to be there into that comfort zone. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, our Principal Vishakha wants to say something.
Yeah, I would just like to sum it up in one line by saying, in India, mark sheets are still trophies. Trophies to be displayed, trophies to be, flaunted. And that is why this stigma continues. Because people don't understand the transition, the educational base that possibly the previous generation had and the current generation and the future generation may have, may not have, varies. Our grandparents knew much more than we know, although their percentages were not as high. Our children know lesser than we know. Their percentages may be higher, but still in India, mark sheets are trophies. We don't consider them as value sheets, but we consider them as trophies, which have to be displayed, demonstrated, exhibited, and which is why the stigma.
Okay. So, I mean, that's absolutely, one of the major things that you said, Principal Vishakha, but also, I think, do you feel it comes from the societal pressure or it come from? So if I ask Principal Jyoti, so Principal Jyoti, what do you have to say on this matter? Where does this actually come from? Because every parent wants their child to do good in their life. So if not in academics, it can be some other platform. So why not some other platform, but why only academics? So where's the root cause, basically?
Thank you so much. I was waiting to speak because I don't know. I agree with both the principals when they said that it is going to take some time to bring a change in the social setup. But I think we are the right people when we sit on an important chair and we sit with authority. And when we are talking about holistic child-centric education, this is what I'm doing in my school when I meet people, the parents and the teachers. Important thing is how to bring the change in their mindset. And how to bring the change in their mindset, I think we have to conduct parent orientation programs to make them understand that when you talk about holistic child-centric education, it means the intellectual quotient of the child, the social quotient of the child, the emotional quotient of the child, and very, very truly, we need to understand the capabilities, the potential of the child, where gradually the skill comes. If a child has a caliber, we have multiple intelligence. Some children learn through auditory methods, some children learn through the visuals, some children are kinesthetic. If we go on with that redundant laid process in the social setup, and we keep blaming the system that the change cannot happen or change will take some time to happen, I think we will waste more years, because now with the technology at its boom, specifically during the years, the pandemic years, when the children were thrown to the technology day in and day out. They are very well, they have learned to, they have explored, they have learned to experience so many things. And then if we are not giving them the platform simply for the reason that parents are going to crib, I think we need to make the parents understand that, see, academics will happen, right?
Right.
The child will learn science, mathematics, social studies. But what about the spoken skills of the child? What about, oh, probably the child is really good in sports. Why aren't we giving importance to the child who can really perform well? Or the child is a performer on stage, for example, a good speaker, and oratory skills are really good. So where does it come from? I would not deny that when a system gets settled in for years and years and years, any system, it takes time to bring amendments, to bring changes. But then somebody has to be a crusader. Somebody has to come forward. Somebody has to bring that kind of a change in the mindset. And I think I, as a principal of Gauze International School, Gaur Yamuna City, feel really happy when I conduct these parental sessions, the orientation program or the teachers training program, to convey to them that allow the child to make the mistake. Allow the child to explore. Let the child experience. Then only child will be able to express and probably excel. So I think I would really want to go with a change, becoming maybe not the first one. There are so many people who are wanting to bring the change, but not to follow exactly, what is already ingrained in the system, what is already written in the textbooks. So I think we need to bring the change to what the things are already settled down. There was
very well said. Yeah, Principal Jyoti. Thank you so much. We definitely will come to you. But I actually, we have so many principals on the panel. So I actually would like to come to Principal Varsha. So Principal Varsha, I would like to know from you, Principal Jyoti and Principal Sunita, they actually spoke so well, how it is deeply rooted in our system from generations to generations. So when I come to you, it is often seen that when parents come to the parents-teacher meeting, they obviously, they speak with the teachers. They say to the teachers that it's, when the teacher tell their parents that their child is doing good in different sections. So they say, okay, it's great if he or she is doing good in sport or music or dance, but what about the academics and how many marks is he or she scoring? So they are more focused into the academics in the scores. So what do you have to say about it? Why does it happen?
I just want to start by stepping back a little bit, when you were talking about what are the influences that are making us think like that, or the parents think like that. I think the schools of today, when we're talking about K-12 schools, are working very hard towards a progressive format. Like Ms. Jyoti said, you're doing so much as parent education. You're trying to explain to them that it's not just about the core subjects, but, and it's not even about just regurgitating. It's about how you're applying your understanding. I think what also needs to change is what is happening at the university level, because ultimately that is that race for marks, right? So whatever you do, you may be like, I work for an IB school and we offer the IB continuum, but eventually what happens in the 11th, 12th, everybody is competing for the marks. If I get that much, then I'm going to get that university. So I think a lot of changes need to happen at the university level as well, for the schools then to start seeing like the change. Because until that does not change, we may do whatever at the primary, middle years, work very hard, but then it's all that competition for the marks. The second piece I wanted to talk about, and this is not about marks, but testing. Let's think about, I think what parents also need to understand, that what is a test really testing? Or what is it not testing? And if you see a lot of theories, I think what we've done is whatever is easy to measure, we've made that important. But what is difficult to measure, we don't want to measure, because that is hard to measure. When we are talking about the social emotional quotient, or even the well-being, ultimately that's what matters. And also, what are we preparing our kids for? Do you and me know the future? Do we know the jobs that are going to come their way? So I think what they need is this creative thinking, critical thinking, problem solving. This is what we need to equip them with. And then that traditional format of just digesting so much content and regurgitating is not going to help. So I think it's a lot of push and pull, and I completely agree with Ms. Jyoti there that it takes time. It's going to take a lot of parent education, that we cannot think like you thought. Your children can operate, they cannot operate like you operated, and I feel that children today have it tougher. I think we had it easier. So this is, what, like, I keep thinking, and we as a teaching team at our school keep thinking, that how do you change that mindset? And it's not, and that change hasn't come about, but I see a light at the end of the tunnel. I think if we are able to convince them and show them, what their children are demonstrating, the way they are presenting, the way they are arguing, I think that will impact, this thinking. And also you mentioned parent teacher meetings. We've changed that format completely. Our teachers don't speak much. Our students lead the conferences. They talk about what have we learned, what do I need to learn, and how am I going to learn that? So there's a lot of student empowerment happening, and I think this generation will probably, expedite that change.
True.
Thank you.
I mean, that is so true, but, those are some great, viewpoints. But now I would like to come to, you, Principal Sheetal. But before that, I would like to speak to Principal Anahita. So Principal Anahita, I would like to know from you, we say this thing that, it's time for us to change. It's time for the parents to change. It's time for the children to change. And the parents also give a lot of speeches about, how marks they do not matter, and we should rather focus on our skills. They say all these things, but when it comes to their child's report card and when it comes to their scores, they cannot accept their child, scoring in 40s or in just passing marks or in 50s. They always want their child to score beyond 75%. So why do you think it happens, and what do you have to say about it?
So I basically feel that, just now when Varsha ma'am was talking about the colleges, I think that's absolutely relevant, because if you realize, even college cutoffs are so really unrealistic and absolutely ridiculous. I mean, imagine expecting a 99% and nothing less in the first cut. I mean, this has been going on for ages. If you look at it, even our time, I remember there was a cutoff, and in the first cutoff, it was so very high. So I think we really need to change the mindset completely. And as ma'am was saying, that we need to work towards mental, emotional balance. I think more important than that, happiness for our children. We are in a school, at least I am in a school, where we have this tagline where we talk about morals above marks. And this is something that we truly, truly believe. Because years of being with children has brought me so closer to this reality, and somehow we become a part of this world. And sometimes the pressures that they face, is something that we too can experience. And then there is this constant, so how much ever you try, we have to understand that now we live in a world which is, very, very social driven. We have the social media. So there is constant comparisons. There is constant comparison to peers, to siblings, to neighbors' children. And then the parent would want the child to, compete in every competition that's happening, whether the child wants it or not. I still remember this case of a 12-year-old boy who I had in my school, and the parents were getting him ready for IIT. And that was really shocking, because the child was not really interested, and they were actually taking away his childhood. So I maybe shouldn't be saying this, but today I feel most of the parents are slightly immature. They need to be a little more matured. They actually need to know what the child needs, right? Rather than, putting their expectations on the children. I think that is one important thing. Our expectations, putting it on the child. I think that is something that we really need to look at. And of course, being great role models for our children, which is again very, very difficult.
Absolutely, especially in today's time. Coming to you, Principal Sheetal. So Principal Sheetal, what do you have to say about this topic? And also what happens is we can always stand in front, and we can always talk about few changes and so many things, but when it comes to our family, our kids, our on us, so we always want our children to be at the top and to, to be the ones scoring the greatest marks. So do you also feel that it has, in today's, I mean, especially in today's time, it has been rooted into our DNA?
Uh, yes, actually, it has, and it is so much ingrained that it is really taking time, for us to accept the fact that yes, marks are not the only thing. Now, schools, I agree with what Principal Anahita and Principal Varsha also has mentioned about preparing students for life and not only, for marks or for that examination. But I think the root cause for parents, if I talk about, I think there are three major factors. That, the selection process, which Ms. Varsha has also mentioned, that at university level, the cutoffs are also so high. And another thing is that prestige is also attached to very few professional courses. Like in my times, if I talk about, prestige was associated to, the ones who were getting admission in, say, medicines or engineering, right? Right now, that is not the case. There are lots and lots of professions, and their children have so many options to choose from. So I think that we are making little progress now. Parents are choosing alternative professions. Another thing that I would also point out is about this success and the fame and the prestige that you call. See, success is a very relative term. It will mean different things to different people. For me, as the fellow panelists have pointed out, that after all, a kid should be happy. He should be happy. He should be engaged in the learning process. But really, for somebody, success might be getting into a top university. For others, success just might be playing a good sport and, coming back home relieved and spending a good day at office and, going for a party after office. So it is very relative. For the others, they associate success with fame. So, even if you have earned X amount of money, and if you're doing very well, you haven't really had that fame, they really don't consider themselves as successful. So I think it has different connotations for different people. But again, having said that, if you look at a lot of consensus and what research that is being conducted across, as far as recruitment is concerned. So I think some 2 years back, there was this research which was conducted by IITs and NITs when they were, looking for good candidates. And now, mind you, IITs and NITs, as far as engineering courses are concerned, they constitute around, I think, 5% of the overall engineering graduates. And job market says that graduates only from these firms, they are fit to work in, very good firms like, say, Microsoft or Google and all that. Why? Because these colleges, I think, are preparing students for the kind of skills that these companies need. All right. And we in India, we have a lack of quality education as far as universities are concerned, right? It is all, again, very, very mark driven. As a lot of others have also pointed out, the skills like critical thinking, problem solving, taking initiative, negotiations and stuff like that are, taking backseat, and they need to become a norm. Having said that, there are a lot of, again, universities in India, like the which offer liberal arts program. So they have made certain core skills as a part of their foundation courses, like critical thinking, communication, great books and stuff like that. They are now becoming a part of the curriculum because they want students to be exposed to that, because after all, success, good mark sheet will get you admission in a good university, and thereafter maybe a job, like, your first head through in the job. But later success in life is only going to depend on how you navigate your life, how you get your next promotion, I should say, and how happy you are at home, and what is the kind of value that you're bringing into the family and to the world at large.
Absolutely, that is so true. Listening to all of your viewpoints, I think it is safe to say that in today's time, mark sheet cannot be considered as a prestige sheet. So, and you all talked about how it is high time to change the society, to change the parents' mentality, and also it is high time for for basically the time to change. So I would like to again come to you, Principal Sunita, and I would like to ask you, so if we want the society to change, if we want the parents' mentality to change, so does that have to come from the big universities, the top universities, because they are the ones who are asking for these percentages to get admissions in their colleges? So if they change their rules, so I think the parents will not pressurize their kids, their child to score such good marks. So would you say that now it is for the universities and the top colleges to change their rules so that
Yes.
society can change?
Yes, 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 a big yes. Because, when we talk about working from the foundation to the ultimate aim, for any individual, for any parent, if I talk about, or for any child, if I talk about. So every family has an ultimate aim where they want to see their child. Okay, so definitely it has to work from the what we can say, from the descending order. Yes, not only the selection criteria but the evaluation criteria as well. And if until and unless they are ready to change the selection criteria, the process, nobody is going to change. Neither I am going to change, neither any stakeholder of the society is going to change. So it has to start from the upper level, to be very frank. So because they should are the ones who have set the targets for us when we talk about schooling. So we are preparing our children to be there. So it has to, that flexibility, of the selection of the approach towards the students has to be changed at the upper level. Then only it will influence, and then only it is going to inspire the schooling part and the pre-primers part, So as it has been very boldly and very, transparently highlighted into NEP 2020, that one has to focus on the skills of any individual, the potential of any individual, rather than only focusing on the academics in terms of content transferring, on the mode of teaching learning process. Definitely, one has to focus on the skills, and it has to come from the upper part, that is the university and the colleges. They need to appreciate the skills of the children. They need to approach, they should have a positive approach and a welcoming note for all type and all variants of the students, rather than just not focusing on the merit pass. So I was about to say in the previous question also, it basic is the selection criteria what we are having. Until and unless there will be a change, there will be a flexibility, the complete scenario in the end. If I talk about the schooling today and our school, when we talk about, totally we have moved to the experiential learning, practical based learning. So but jab 10th ki baat aati hai, when we talk about 10th standard board examination, when we talk about 12th standard board examination, so none of the principal here who is being part of the talk or anywhere in the society who would say to say any of the 10th or a 12th student to say, no, it's okay. Let the board be, you come and you join this activity or that activity. What we also do, I also very bluntly, I'm saying we keep our 10thers and 12thers away from many of the activities, which they would love to. Because in the end of the day, in some or the other way, we also have that pressure, of the result of this and that. So yes, it has to come from the upper level itself. They need to change their perspective, their selection criteria. Then only it is going to come downwards to the school.
Amazing. That's a great answer. The powerful, the people sitting at the authorities, they have to, basically change the rules to bring a change in the society. So, Principal Vishakha, if I come to you and if I ask you, so why do you think, such powerful people sitting at such big authority, such great level of hierarchy, so they are the ones who are actually dominating the country, dominating the world, because they are the ones choosing who they should give admission to, who they should select. So such powerful people sitting at such a high level. So why do you think those people, they actually make such rules where say 90% student can only get admission, or the ones who are having beyond above 95%, they can only get selected or admission in the university? Why do you think they make such rules?
See, I think the reason is very loud and clear. There's a disparity between the number of colleges and the number of takers of admission, right? So if you see, even presently, there's so many aims that have come up. There's so many IMs that have come up, but still, 15,000. I'll talk about statistics. 15,000 candidates every year apply for the MBBS seat, and if you count and see, including reservations, there are only 62,000 seats. 15 lakh candidates appear for the exam. 62,000 seats. Can you see the disparity?
Mm-hmm.
So it is up to the government, it is up to the people, up to the private organizations, universities and colleges to have more colleges and universities opened up. Because once that happens, then this rat race would reduce tremendously. Then there'll be availability of seats, which will bring down this level and demarcation that has been brought at 99. To get into LSR, 99.9, 99.7, those are the kind of cutoffs. And these are statistics I'm talking about. So there is a disparity between what is available and who wants it. And once this gap is bridged, things will be better. That is why parents force their children get better scores. Thankfully, to the new, this news was recently in the newspaper that 12th standard scores will be of no use when children are seeking admission into colleges. Possibly will kind of bring a little relaxation in the children and the parents. When I am talking to parents at my school, I tell them one thing very, very clear and candid. There was a recent meeting at my school, and I asked the parents, sir, what is your education? And he said, I'm an engineer. I said, fine. How much of that engineering are you using today? Whatever you learned during engineering, your textbooks, how much of it are we using today? And he said, madam, hardly 10 to 20%. I said, the life skills that you were taught, time management, discipline, punctuality, critical thinking, creative thinking, how much of it are you using today? And he said, madam, 90 to 100%. And that's the answer for all of us. Our children need to have that base. You have to prepare, we as educators, we as leaders of schools have to prepare our student for the unknown. We do not know 20 years down the line, 15 years down the line, when our students would be the active workforce of the country, what would be the careers that would have been obsolete? What would be the careers that would be prevalent? We cannot educate our students for that today. I guess all of us belong to almost the same age group. Mobile phones did not exist when we were students. So could we learn about more mobile technology? No. But today, even a 3-year-old, 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old can operate a mobile very, very seamlessly. So I cannot prepare my children for the unknown in terms of subjects, but I can definitely prepare them to be better people who are receptive, who are adaptable to change, who are, ready for that unknown. And for which we need to, kind of, as I agree with all the panelists who said, the parents need counseling. It is not the children who need to be counseled. Parents are passing on their expectations, their thoughts, whatever they couldn't achieve, onto their children and expecting they achieve so my child will fulfill what I couldn't do, is something really not acceptable. Let's not pass that burden and that baggage to the children. Also, at the same time, I would request all schools to stop the display of marks. We are all talking about marks are not important, but just after, as Sunita ji very rightly said, the moment the board exams are over, all the newspapers are filled with my top ranker, this is the picture, this is the score. So we have to stop this double standard.
I actually was about to ask you this question. I actually was about to ask you this question. So now, thank you so much for your viewpoints, Principal Vishakha. That's a great thing that you mentioned. And now I would like to use like Principal Vishakha said, as soon as the board results, gets out, so all the newspapers, all the media channels, they go to the students' house and they interview their parents, and so all these things happen. So also it also happens that all the schools and the principals, they also talking about the city that they are in. So they compete with different schools in their cities. So if their student has got the most number of marks, so what they do is they advertise it and they give special treatment to the kid. They give scholarship to the kid. So special treatment is given to that particular student, which also makes other students feel a little insecure and complex, and which is why just to get that attention and that importance, the other students also feel pressurized to get good marks, to get good scores. So would you say that somewhere schools are also to be blamed in this game of getting good marks and getting good scores?
Who is this question targeted at?
Principal Jyoti.
Great, thank you. See, I totally believe into it that schools are actually to be blamed, because unless and until the plinth is strong, the building cannot stand. It is understand the child, Baba. Where is the competition coming up? Why is the competition coming up? If you understand the child, probably the child, if learning happens, and let's not make it only marks-driven learning. Let's make it learning happen. Then it becomes so easy. It is completely an easy journey for the child to understand. Every child is not inclined to be a chartered accountant. Every child is not inclined, the one who has picked up science, to be an engineer or be a doctor. We can have sciences and the child can be, maybe a marine engineer, someone into the merchant navy. Why fashion study? Being into fashion technology, there it is also a study where you make patterns, you make a garment, you understand the fineness of how to finish the garment and to produce. My point is, we need to understand the potential in the child and then nurture and groom the child according to the potential, the capability in the child, for which the teachers need to be trained. If we also go beyond, go with this kind of a thought process that marks are important and my school should be the number one school in the rungs, the ladder, where it is like, oh, we've done so well because we have a 99 percentile or probably the 10, the district topper, the state topper. Agreed. All these years of experience as a principal, post the 99 and 100 percentile and probably one of the best universities, they are the children who drop and they go for, oh, my calling is to be a YouTuber. Oh, my calling is to be, probably a singer, a stand-up comedian. I have my students who've been such good students, university-wise, school-wise. But then, like I quote an example of one of my students, Rahul Dua. He's a famous stand-up comedian today. So many of my students are doing so well. Otherwise, the chartered, the path we have told them to tread. My own son, if I give you an example, is 27 years old. He had done 4 years of his leather goods and designing. Understand, it's a creative course. He was a 95% scorer in 12th standard. And he said, I will not go for my chartered accountant or my CLAT or whatever. I want to go for something creative. We need to understand the creative potential, whichever university, however. He was there in FDDI in Noida. He did 4 years of his degree course. He did his job, Napa Dori. And then after some time, he's saying, I'm wanting to go for studies. No. Today he's 27 years. I said, okay, fine. Sit for your CAT exam if you want a good university, not the marks and percentile. You need to go through the right path, basically, right? And the subject he's chosen? He's chosen sports management and health science. Now, is it something which is like an inverted comma topic? Oh, it's today, something we really talked about. But I think it's his calling. every section, every sector is respectable, will come to some kind of, positive outcome to the social setup, but somebody has to believe in your child. And he is in Deakin University, Melbourne, for which he made an effort, no shortcuts. He did score a scholarship. Not to brag about my son here, I'm talking as a student. He has the potential. Why to go for CLAT exam only? Why do you want to be a corporate lawyer? Just because I, as a mother, want to show off that, oh yes, my son is so and so. The mindset, I believe, needs to be changed. I believe into that. And that is where the freedom to the child, should be given. It's such beautiful lines. I would just want to say that a child should, it's such a beautiful sight going to be in times to come if children stand up and say, or a child stand up and say, I was born to create, succeed, and prosper. I was born to make my dreams a reality. We all are dreamers. Why can't we actually become achievers? Why can't we educators and parents actually fuel their dream, and that it is not wrong to dream. और वो कितनी खूबसूरत सी लाइन हिंदी में है ना, वो सिर्फ ड्रामा या वो सिर्फ कहने के लिए नहीं है, हकीकत है अगर हम बच्चों को समझें। खुदी को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तदबीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है। कितनी खूबसूरत दुनिया बन जाएगी एक्चुअली बच्चों को जो स्ट्रेस पड़ रहा है। these mark sheets are not prestige sheets. I feel they are pressure sheets. There's so much of pressure, and we need to break down that pressure, Baba. Somewhere we have to start. It should start. So I think
absolutely, that's those lines that you said are really beautiful lines, and totally relatable in today's time. But principals, we are a little packed on time, but and we also have a presentation to give. So I actually would like now to welcome our founder and CEO, Mr. Gagan Rana, and would request him to please give the presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Rajni. Before I give the presentation, I think it's an amazing session, and okay, I think I'm on mute. Am I?
No, you are not.
Okay, fine. Yeah, somebody on the studio telling me I can't hear you. So I was thinking, okay, all right. Anyways, yeah, so yeah, these sheets are the pressure sheets. I agree. And I think these are short-term way, right? They're short-term prestige, but long-term prestige don't come via these ones. Because what matters from my point of view is happiness. If your child is not happy, there's no point. There's no point doing anything like that. So yes, principal said, "Bachcho ko samjho." I agree with that. You have to.
Thank you so much for your presentation. And now, I still have so many questions on this topic because it is such a wide topic and also a very interesting topic. And I have so many questions still with me to ask from all of you. But as I said in the beginning,
Rajni, I think what we can do, we can ask for concluding remarks from each principal because that's a crux.
Or can we also have its part two next Thursday if all the principals agree?
I think they have to see the diary first, but let's conclude anyways. Let's go through each principal. Let them say a few lines for not more than just conclusion, the summary of this mark sheet and a prestige sheet. Yeah.
Okay. We'll start with Principal Varsha.
Thank you so much, Rajni. As you said, I think it's a never-ending discussion, but I'd just like to say that a mark sheet, what is that really? And I think that's what we need to ask ourselves. Parents need to ask ourselves. It's a snapshot in time. Somebody may also just have gotten lucky in that particular exam, and they may have been a brilliant kid, who understands material, understands curriculum, but was on sick that, he was sick that particular day and was not able to perform well. So I think not seeing the mark sheet as, this is the potential. I think Ms. Jyoti has used the word potential many times. Mark sheet is not the indicator of student potential, and I think we should keep that in mind.
Beautiful. Principal Anahita.
Thank you. I think just one tagline that good grades are not a testament to great careers. I think we can, get into different careers, but our grades can never define that. So let's all remember that good grades are never a testament to great careers. Thank you.
Principal Sridhar.
Sorry. Yeah. So I think I would like to say that we really need to move away from our fixation on tracking our growth and capabilities using that one standardized test, or that the grade in 12th, because success is not dependent, or success and failure are part of our lives, and it is not dependent on that one mark sheet. Education is a preparation for life, but it is not life itself. So we need to associate our prestige to happiness and our prestige to fulfillment of our students' needs, wants, and their wishes, and not to the fixated norms of society.
Principal Vishakha.
Yeah, hi Rajni, thank you. I would just like to end with a message that let mark sheets not be mark sheets, but then let's stress on being value sheets, learning sheets, and let's tell all our children to be original, be yourself, for you are unique. Thank you.
Principal Jyoti.
Yeah, so I would definitely want to see all my students really, really happy. I agree with Gagan ji when he said the happiness should be the top priority. So I would want to say, let the school education follow the mantra where it should be engage, explore, experience, express, and excel. Let the child explore, let the child experience, let the child express, and let the child excel. But all these things will happen only when we will engage our children creatively, understanding them, and of course, being open to the progress that they really deserve, not making mark sheet the prestige sheets at all. I would want
Thank you so much. Principal Sunita.
See, as all the other principals also said, I also agree with the same thing, that we should work on developing these skills in the children so that they can come up with their potentials. One tagline from my side, we need to change our mindset if we need to give meaningful life to our coming generations.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Thank you so much to all the principals. And I would like to conclude by saying that, some of the most brilliant minds and most successful people are college dropouts. So if the college dropouts can become such successful people in their fields, I'm sure, guys, you can too. So thank you so much to all the principals for joining us on today's episode. And we'll be seeing you next Thursday on the next episode, if you'll have time. So thank you so much again for joining us in another episode of Principal's Talk Show. It was lovely talking to you. It was a great discussion, great panel. And to all of the people who are watching us right now, guys, stay tuned. Don't miss any episode of Principal's Talk Show. Soon we'll be coming up with Principal's Talent Show as well, where all these principals are going to showcase their talent to you, and the IET finalists, kids and teens, are going to judge all the principals showcasing their talent. So it's going to be a great ride. All of you stay tuned and keep on watching Fun Kids India. Bye for now.
Thanks, Ajan. Thank you so much.